In this video, we will be assembling a tidal wave slide. This video will provide step-by-step instructions to make for an easy assembly. Before we get started, here's a list of tools and supplies that you will need. We will also be utilizing the hardware kit provided. The first step is to use bag 1 from the hardware kit to attach the lower flume to the base. Turn the lower flume upside down, laying it on a soft surface to prevent scratches. Lay the base on the flume and attach them together using 4 2-inch hex bolts. Use 1 flat washer for each bolt. Make sure to apply anti-seize on all threaded portions in this step and the ones to follow to prevent corrosion and galling. All bolts must be tightened by hand. We recommend using a 3/8-inch ratchet. Do not use an impact gun. The second step will use the shorter length foam rubber seal from the seal kit tube and a roll of butyl found in the hardware kit. To begin, measure the center of your flume using the 2 brass inserts as outside measuring points. Using a marker, mark the center, making sure not to mark too high so it is not visible once the slide is assembled. Install the short foam rubber seal as shown, keeping it close to the edge. Once it is installed, cut off any excess and discard it. Next, take the roll of butyl and cut a piece to 28 inches in length. Take the cut piece and mark the center using your thumbnail. To install the butyl, find your previously marked center on the slide. Match this up to the center of butyl, putting the butyl directly underneath the first seal. The 2 seals should be touching for it to seal properly. The third step is to attach the upper flume to the lower flume using bag number 3 from the hardware kit. Using 2 people, lift the upper flume and place it onto the lower flume. They lock in place with the groove design. Once together, use 2 2-inch button head bolts each with 1 flat washer on the upper attachment points. Plastic clamps may be needed to align the bolt holes. Then, on the 2 lower attachment points, use 2 2¼ inch hex bolts first with 1 lock washer and then 1 flat washer. Once all the bolts are started, tighten them down by hand using a ratchet with a 9/16 inch socket for the hex bolts and a 7/32 Allen wrench for the button head bolts. The fourth step will use the PVC fitting in bag 4 from the hardware kit to hook up the plumbing in the upper ladder. Not shown is the use of threaded sealant tape and thread sealant paste that will be needed to ensure the plumbing does not leak. Once both of those have been added to the fitting, locate the access hole at the top of the upper ladder and thread the fitting into place. Be sure not to cross-thread the fitting. Next, insert the tube through the hole located at the bottom of the upper ladder. Through the top access hole, find the tube and attach it to the PVC fitting using primer and glue that is up to code in your area. Be sure to first apply primer, then the glue to both the tube and the fitting before attaching them. Once attached, hold them together by hand until it starts to bond. The fifth step uses bag 5 from the kit to attach the upper and lower ladder. Begin by standing the lower ladder upright. Next, lift the upper ladder and place it on top of the lower ladder. Make sure to guide the remaining tube from the upper ladder into the lower ladder. On the 2 outside rail connection points, insert the 2 3-inch button head bolts, using 1 flat washer for each bolt. On the back side of the outside rail, secure the bolt first with a flat washer, then a lock washer, followed by an acorn nut. Moving around to the back of the ladder, you will use 2 3-inch hex bolts. First, place a lock washer on the hex bolt, followed by a flat washer. Once all the bolts are in place, use a 9/16" socket to tighten the 2 hex bolts. Then use a 7/32 Allen wrench for the button head bolts and a 5/8" wrench for the acorn nut and tighten them. This step uses the long foam rubber seal from the seal kit used in step 2. Mark the center of the ladder using the 2 bolt holes as your outside measuring points. Install the foam rubber seal as shown, starting at the top of one side and working your way around the curve. Once it is installed, cut off any excess and discard it. You will also need to cut 2 32-inch long pieces of butyl from the roll. Take the exposed sides of the butyls and attach them together to double the thickness. Peel off one side of the paper and mark the center using your thumbnail. Line up the center of the butyl to the previously marked center on the ladder. Install the doubled butyl directly under the foam rubber seal. Make sure the butyl is touching the seal to ensure proper placement. Step 6 uses bag 6 from the hardware kit. Use 2 3-inch studs and install them into the upper flume. Tighten them using the 3/16 Allen wrench. Next, connect the flumes to the ladder. Use the studs previously installed and guide them into the 2 holes on the upper ladder located directly under the seal. Then use 2 3 3/4" hex bolts, each with 1 flat washer, and insert them into the lower connection points on the ladder side. From the flume side, secure the bolt first with a flat washer, then a lock washer, and finally a hex nut. Next, install 2 3.5" button head bolts, each with 1 flat washer, and insert them into the upper connection point holes. Secure it first with a flat washer, then a lock washer, and finally a hex nut. Do not fully tighten any of the bolts in step 6. The 7th step uses bag 7 from the hardware kit. Go through the access hole at the top of the ladder and use 2 3/4-inch bolts each with a flat washer on them and install them into the lower 2 connection points inside the ladder. Then take the 2 remaining flat washers and insert them onto the studs. Secure the flat washers with hex nuts. Once all of these are in place, it's time to tighten them down. Use a short extension and a 9/16" socket to tighten the 2 bolts, and a 9/16" wrench to tighten the hex nuts. After being tightened, return to the 4 bolts installed in step 6 and tighten them. Step 8, installing the access cover plate. Step 8 uses bag 8 from the hardware kit. Install the access cover plate by putting the plate onto the lip of the access hole. Use 6 Phillips head screws to secure the plate. Be sure to tighten the screws by hand with a screwdriver. Using power tools increases the chance of stripping the plastic. The slide is now assembled and ready for installation. Refer to the assembly and installation guide for further information.